Welcome back to Midlife Murmurings, the space where we pause, reflect, and recalibrate. I'm Chris Gates, and today I'm joined by someone who's walked the path from high-performance sport to deep healing and community building, Jason Pooley. We're diving into burnout, midlife transitions, and what it means to live the second half with intention, joy, and presence. If this conversation resonates, if you've ever felt the drift, the fatigue, or the quiet invitation to slow down, I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share this episode. It helps us grow this movement and reach others who are navigating their own midlife murmurings. So settle in, take a breath, and let's begin. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Jason Pooley to the Midlife Murmurings. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yeah, well, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. I know we've obviously been talking over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, super excited for this, and well done for putting all of this together. Midlife Murmuring, such a great kind of topic and theme for sure. So a little bit about me. My background was tennis. That was my life really for the first part of my life and career. Played lots of sport. Well, tennis was my thing, so played at kind of high level, and then that was my career from 20 to mid 30s. Amazing. It was, when I look back now, it's so many learnings, but yeah, still a big passion of mine. Still love watching it. Started playing it a little bit more again now, which is great. And then tennis, because obviously there was a lot of high performance in that. So as a player, but then obviously working with lots of high performing players as well. So then what happened was I ended up I was coaching tennis in Hong Kong in Asia, 2001 time, 2002. And then my career took another transition, actually. So I had lots of injuries playing tennis, obviously, as you can imagine. And I started exploring yoga as a way to kind of heal my body. And, I think it was my mid-20s, I remember going out to bars with my mates, and I always had to go home early because my back was so sore and I was in agony. So I kind of thought, hang on a minute, I need to do something that's going to help me heal my recovery from playing tennis over the years. So I transitioned into yoga. I went into a class in Hong Kong and I absolutely loved it. I kind of, for the first time, it felt like as I went onto the yoga mat, it was like coming home kind of thing. It just felt right for me. So I started to see massive improvement in my physical body. So there was a surgery that I was kind of looking at, but didn't end up having it. And that was down to actually, bringing some yoga into my daily, weekly life. I then started to notice, hang on a minute, this practice of yoga is helping me mentally as well. And at that time, I think there was quite a bit of anxiety in my life. And so that was starting to dissipate. And so I dived into it more. I came back to London. I was teaching tennis in London for about 6-7 years after that. But during that period, I was doing loads of yoga, practicing, going to different classes all around London, and kind of thought to myself, why don't I just do some training in this? I'm already a teacher, a coach, coaching tennis. I love working with people and helping people. So why don't I do a 200-hour yoga teacher training? So I did that in 2009. And then it kind of just changed the trajectory of my career, to be honest. Ended up doing a lot of deep dive yoga training in the US. And then it was from that point, I remember being in, I can't remember where I was, Austin, Texas. And I declared in this training, I think it was about 300 people, that I was going to go back to London and build a community. I really was passionate about building a community because yoga had such an impact on my life. I wanted to bring this into other people's life, and community was my big focus then. And so we ended up building out the House of Yoga, which was a yoga studio business and training business community that actually still have the trainings, teach trainings. But we had 2 studios in London, in Putney and Fulham from 2012. A magical time in so many different ways, many lives transformed. I wasn't a business person at the time. I didn't even look at the numbers for the first 9 months, but then it quickly turned into a business, lots of teachers, big team. So yeah, a lot of fun, really. It's been, and that journey. So studios was 2012 to, well, we know what happened in 2020. COVID came along and completely changed the model. So we had to pivot. shift online. We kept the studios open for a couple of years and then decided a couple of years ago, you know what, let's close these studios down, but keep the community, keep the trainings, yoga trainings, still have that. And then at that time, Chris, in 2020, COVID really, for a lot of people, we started to, I personally did, really think about, actually, what am I doing in my life? Like, I'm loving this, but I feel like there's something else. And so I started to explore coaching. I had my own coach, my own kind of life coach, business coach, and I started to explore, what does that look like for me? So I jumped into a community with Brendan Burchard, high performance coaching, and I kind of really deep dived into that. And since then, it's been an amazing journey. I've worked with hundreds of people around lifestyle coaching, business coaching, more so business coaching now. But to be honest, it's all life coaching. And so when I think about it, as I share this, I've had quite a few transitions over the years from, say, tennis, yoga, and now coaching, but they all come together. And I'm a little bit left field when it comes to coaching, because I've got this holistic approach, kind of high performance, holistic, and bring that together. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a dad of 3 young kids. Well, not so young, I guess, anymore. And yeah, family life is so important to me. And live out in Surrey, kind of escape the busy city life, and now enjoying kind of more of a quieter life.
Very good. And Jason, I know you confided your age before we came onto this, and you consider yourself in midlife. Tell me, what does midlife mean to you personally?
It's a great question, that. What does it mean to me? Well, I'm coming up 50, so I'll be 51 next week, a week today. And sometimes it just blows my mind. I'm like, how have I got to this point? When I was like in my 20s, 30s, I saw maybe, I don't know, my uncle that was in his 50s. I thought, you kind of old git, but I'm like there now. So, but I just still feel like I'm 20. It's bizarre. Like, my body, I guess, I look after myself more than I have done actually for a long time. But midlife to me that's the question, right? What does midlife mean to me? What comes to mind is just new possibilities and the second half. They're the words that come up to me. This is the second half. And yeah, we kind of get that thought of the clock is ticking. I was speaking to my friend about this the other day. The clock is kind of ticking. You get really aware of that, but at the same time, for me, it's like, let's just go for it even more. Let's just have fun. And it doesn't mean like, I want to build out loads of big stuff, but I think bringing more joy and looking after myself, because I want to see I want to grow old and healthy. And so the second half is going to be interesting for sure, whatever happens.
Yeah. Do you have any ambitions for that second half?
I do. Yeah. I mean, as I said, community's been a big part, and just starting to build out a new community called Elevate, which is just for kind of high performing men under pressure. We have a small community now that's guys that have had coaching or are still having coaching with me. And that's a big ambition, actually. That's a big focus, is to build out that community over the next few years. And it's already starting to build momentum. We've had some, good kind of events happening, and that's one ambition, just to really help and have impact people's lives. Even, I love to support and help people transition from where they are, and sometimes they're stuck and they're not quite sure where to get to. And, that's all part of the coaching process, discovery process, to spend more time, quality time. Like, the kids are still young, as I said, but, teenagers coming in towards teenage years. And I'd love to be around for that and spend more time. I don't want to be working my butt off all the time. And so that, that balance is super important to me, and well-being is my highest value. So I look after myself. I feel like I look after myself pretty well.
Let's talk about well-being. What are some of the practices that you've learned, through your life that you put into your sort of daily, weekly, monthly life to keep that health in midlife?
Every day there's movement. So moving my body, whether that's yoga, I practice yoga pretty much every day. I mean, I did 9 years where I did a 90-minute yoga practice every single day, literally every single day. But obviously that was before children. That just doesn't happen now. But I get on my yoga mat every day. I move my body, Typically first thing before the day gets going. I meditate every day. Um, I like kind of doing breath work and, just being conscious to those holistic practices. Obviously teach that as well. That's, my holistic practices and, in our yoga teacher trainings. One thing that I do, and these are just simple things, right? It's not rocket science, but I get out every day. We have a beautiful park here where we live in Surrey, and I walk every day. So even that's a 20-minute walk, just get in nature, just those basic stuff, but it all helps.
How does meditation help? That's one you mentioned.
Whew, we could do 10 podcasts on this. Do you know what? Something really landed for me is you don't do meditation to get better at meditation. You do meditation to get better at you, to get better at life. And there's so many different ways you can practice. Well, meditation isn't really a practice. It's concentration is the practice, whether that's you concentrating on a mantra or breath, gratitude, vision, right? More of an active meditation, but it's concentration, and that leads to meditation, which is the experience you're left with, that deeper sense of connection and presence and relaxation. And so meditation's a big one for me, like every day, at least 10 minutes, if possible, kind of maybe 2 of those. But say for the beginner, and a lot of people start and maybe want that quick fix in meditation, but it takes time. It's like you're building up, you're stacking up the reps. But for me, it's just that kind of quiet grounding time.
Very good. And I guess everything else works out of that quiet and that grounding.
Yeah. I've been exploring, I still do it. I've been exploring stuff like ice, cold water therapy, and we've got like an ice bath in the garden, stuff like that, and grounding in the morning. Just weird stuff, but good stuff, right? And yeah, it all seems to help, to be honest. Someone said to me the other day, we were running a teach training in London, and someone said, "You never seem stressed." And I said, no. I definitely get stressed for sure. I'm human and we all get stressed. So I feel like these practices give me some distance from that and to kind of tap me more into my better self, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And given the background you've had and the work you've done in high performance, do you still have a fear of failure and a sort of internal critic holding you back? And if so, how do you face into that and how do you sort of overcome that?
Yeah, for me personally, I've definitely experienced that, right? As in, I've labeled failure as, well, perhaps I'm not good enough, or I can't do this. I'm not good enough. It's definitely been a one that sits on my shoulder over the years, but I've trained myself. I've learned to kind of shrink that narrative, and I don't think it ever goes away. But I've shrunk it, and I don't see failure as failure anymore. That word failure, I just see as feedback and opportunity and possibility. Failing forwards, a kind of mantra I like is, okay, let's just keep exploring. Like a scientist, I guess, Chris, right? Well, you're just exploring, and why should it have to feel like failure? So yeah, I've definitely changed my story around failure for sure.
Excellent. As we think about looking forward into second half, we know at some point the second half will come to an end. Have you thought much about your own death and how's that then shaped how you live now?
Yeah, it's a powerful conversation, isn't it? I think in my 20s, for some reason, I saw a lot of it. I actually, there was some situations where like I lost a really close best friend at the time when I was young, 16 at school. And I think I didn't really kind of get that at the time. If when I look back, it was hugely impactful. And I feel like it manifested a few years later. So 19, 20, I started to really think about death. And I was thinking, why am I thinking about this at such a young age? And then I feel like that kind of started to play out as a bit more anxiety, and it was kind of there playing in the background. And then again, like coming through, yoga has really helped all of that. But it definitely of course, we get it. As I said, the clock is ticking, right? And
Yeah.
it's almost like a little blip. I feel like this is a blip. This is, there's a lot that can happen, but also who knows, who knows what's going to happen. So if, yeah, it answers your question, of course, that plays out. And I think about it, but I also think about it in a way that, well, let's just do as much, let's just live life and go for it, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, the question you asked previously is that's helped me around the failure bit is, well, who cares? Let's just do what I want to do and go for it, because we're not here for that long.
Yeah. And it is our one wildlife, isn't it? And it's a chance for us to do something with it.
Yeah. And I feel like contribution is that spiritual muscle of how can I, that's a question I have, is how can I help someone here? How can I help someone today? And yeah, it's a big question, but yeah, never going to get away from it, right?
No, absolutely not. So, Jason, as we sort of think about all of these things that you've learned and your experiences through midlife and preceding midlife, what would you whisper to Jason of 10 years ago that would help him through this next decade that's ahead of him?
Ooh. Don't get so much tattoos. So so midlife crisis. I got my first tattoo at 40, and actually when I met my wife Chloe, I was late 30s, 38. I had no tattoos, right? And I think I've got 71 tattoos now. So maybe, yeah, don't get so fixated on that one. But no, I have no regrets. What would I say to myself 10 years ago? So that's me at 40, 50 is, do you know, I remember when I was coaching tennis, and actually, bless him, a guy that's passed away a few years ago, but I remember him saying that when I was coaching him, he was in his 60s, and he passed away maybe 5 years ago. And I remember him saying on the tennis court one day, just so you know, these decades, they get quicker and quicker, they speed up. And I really get that now. Like, it feels like it's, 40 to 50, and it's just flown by. So I'd go back and say, look, just enjoy it as much as you can. Obviously, we've gone through a period of growing up, building the family, growing the family. The kids were super young then, and just spend, really, like, be connected as much as possible to that. And I'm sure you relate to this because you've got kids that are kind of further down the line, right? But yeah, and when the kids were young, I had the house yoga business, and it was super busy, and I was super in it. And I would have just said to myself, just pull away, put the brakes on. Not that we can put the brake on, but just create the distance and the space, and just enjoy as much as you can, because it goes bloody quick.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Brilliant. Thank you, Jason. We're now going to flip the conversation, and the original topic why I reached out for you was to talk about burnout, because I know that's an area that you spent a lot of time and focus on. And it'd be great to just explore. It'd be great to explore together a little bit about burnout, what it is in itself, what you see in the people you work with, how we can identify some of the signs of burnout, and what we can do about it as well. So if we think about burnout as a whole, it's a topic obviously that affects many high performance individuals. And I saw one stat which said 75% of us will report experiencing burnout during their working lives, and affecting both men and women, especially in midlife. So why don't you tell us what you see in the high performance people you work with, and what burnout looks like and feels like to individuals that you're working with?
Yeah, great. Well, firstly, I'm not a burnout coach, right? It's just organically, I started to see lots of patterns, and I feel you do see that when you're coaching, is that and I've seen it in myself. You see these patterns, especially high performing individuals, that they're in this kind of bubble. They've got lots of ambition, and they've got this drive and ambition, but that does a lot of the time go against them, right? And especially if I look at business owners, that I work with a lot of business owners, and they tend to be in their first well, there's some that's gone past 10 years, but they, they have this vision, this dream of setting up their business to create more freedom, but it's the opposite for a lot of them. And they're just so consumed in it, or they're consumed
Yeah.
in their careers, and and burnout manifests in so many different ways. It's very different for everyone. And so it can be subtle and it builds and builds, or it can be just this big kind of crash, right? Crash and burn. I think when you think about high performing individuals, a lot of them, what comes with that is perfection. And
Yeah.
so, but there is no perfection, but they've got this striving and driving perfection. But that's just kind of an illusion when you think about it. So that has an impact on burnout. So it really does look different and feels different for everyone. Like I
Mm.
say, it can be quite a subtle journey, and it might show up as someone being just a little bit more disconnected with even their loved ones, or disconnected to themselves, or they're forgetting about themselves, and it's just work, work, work. And where's their well-being practices? When did they last
Yeah.
see their friends, or when did they last have a real reset? And so, yeah, physical, emotional fatigue, mental kind of burnout. And we're not just talking high performers, right? Professional athletes experience burnout, mental health issues. We're seeing that more and more now, actually, in the sporting world, where it's just becoming a little bit more present that they're experiencing burnout, right? And so it doesn't have to be that way. And there's certain ways. I think boundaries is a big one. So really setting conscious, intentional boundaries in life,
Mm.
creating space, like actually creating, you can't control time, but you can control self and self-discipline. And so creating space that is for looking at, like putting the oxygen mask on yourself, and well-being is super important.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways, but yeah, like I say, I'm not a burnout coach, but over the years, I've worked with lots of people that I can see now they're in it, or they're heading towards it, right? And
Yeah.
you can put the brakes on.
I was struck when you said people are consumed by their work. It's almost like it takes all of them, even the bits that it's not intended to take, and that there's the practices you've talked about are really just rebalancing and giving a grounding
Resetting.
beyond any one of the
Yeah.
individual contexts, whether it's work or family or whatever else is driving that burnout. Why don't you talk about that identity then for a minute? How does that contribute to burnout?
Yeah. It's the identity bit is, these high performing individuals, or maybe high performing teams, they have this, like I said, this drive and this ambition, these goals to go towards, and it just becomes they're so fixated on this thing, so consumed
Yeah.
in it, that the blinkers are on, and it's like forgetting other stuff, right? Forgetting
Yeah.
the a lot of times it's the most important stuff that they forget, right? And which is self, as in, when did I last actually take care of myself?
Yeah.
Meaning put the oxygen mask on. And so that's a big one. That's a non-negotiable inside my coaching kind of work, is typically mindset and energy management. It starts with mindset and energy management. So managing energy, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, those four realms, right? And you do start to see a very positive ripple effect over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mm.
And yeah, what was the number you said? 75% of people experience
75%.
burnout.
Yeah.
I'd say it's more. I'd potentially argue that it's most probably a little bit more, because sometimes people are just living in it. They don't even know it.
Yeah. I know for me personally, there was a period a couple of years ago where work was busy and full on. There were some things that weren't quite in alignment. And then we suffered the death of both of our fathers within the 6-month period.
Mm,
And the wheels
I'm
came off
sorry.
then,
Yeah.
and the body kind of threw up. My back went into spasm, and I took time off
Mm,
work. Yeah. And it was the first time that had happened to me, really. I'd needed time off work. And I think the body screamed, this is not healthy.
right.
And I think that I just didn't have the elasticity then to deal with the grief that came from
Mm, mm,
losing parents.
yeah.
What role do you see the body playing in this burnout and recovery from burnout as well?
Well, it's the house, isn't it? It's the home. So the body, like you say, will shut down. I just spoke to a friend last night. He said he's been feeling a bit fatigued for a couple of years on and off. And he went on holiday with his partner a couple of weeks ago or last week. He said he just slept for 10 hours, just wanted to sleep all the time. And so that's a big sign of actually, you don't need a holiday to rest, as in, you should build it in your daily, weekly rhythms and life. So it shouldn't be
Yeah.
that I need to go on holiday to rest. Of course, holidays are amazing and very much needed. But if we're going away and crashing and burning, it's a telltale sign that the body, you're just not bringing enough self-care and energy management in just day-to-day life.
That things are just, I suppose they start with a drift, don't they? They start drifting. And the things that we know are important,
Massively.
eating well, sleeping well, downtime, relaxation,
The
joy,
basics.
just
True.
drift away.
Yeah.
Drift away. And
Yeah.
are there
That's it.
are there symptoms that you see as early warnings for burnout as well? Particular things. Rest is one, and people feeling fatigued. What are some of the other signs as well of early burnout?
I think like stuff like just basic stuff like irritation, lack of focus, um, mood swings, headaches, just stuff how it manifests in so many different ways. It could be that
Yeah,
irritation of like, something or a reaction. You're not responding in a kind of calm, grounded way. There's like, I don't know, something could happen. And but by the way, I've definitely been there, right? Is that and you react to it in a way that's like unconscious because you're just everything's just kind of on high alert and there's more reaction than actual conscious response. So I think that's
yeah,
a big sign for sure. Just kind of feeling checked out and fatigued. A lot of fatigue is
yeah.
actually emotional fatigue, not just physical fatigue.
And so when someone appears in one of your coaching sessions, sort of evidencing some of these things, how do you start to work with them? What's the kind of journey that you take them on?
Start to look at, definitely, like I said, mindset is first. Start to really look at, because mindset is at the foundation of everything, right? It impacts our health and well-being, impacts relationships, impacts our career, impacts our finances, absolutely impacts our well-being. So
Yeah,
start to really look at the way they're showing up, the way they're yeah, the way they're kind of thinking about themselves and thinking about their day, structuring their day, starting to look at creating, like I said, space and a better rhythm. Start to look. We have like a checklist, and that would be say, like energizing stuff. It could be fitness workouts or yoga or walking. Um, could be more intense stuff, nutrition and diet, and just kind of balance, like finding a greater balance, right?
yeah,
And that's not the same for everyone. So it's got to be specialized for that person. So energy, when you think about high performance, Chris, it's of course there's mindset, but then we look at clarity, like what's really important to me, what are my values, what would it look like to have an energized day or energized week, not just a rushed week and a chaotic week. And so courage is a big one when you starting to look at habits, learning to say no to things that would mean that they're saying yes to more important things, which is their well-being and mental health. And obviously looking at their prioritization, productivity, and yeah, things like that. That the mindset and the energy management is really right at the front end first.
yeah. And one of the things we've been seeing through the interviews and the murmurings is that midlife is often a time to shed things that don't fit anymore. There's different stages of our lives, right? When there's appropriate time where career does take a focus, and then there's a time when family takes a focus, and then it shifts as we go through as well. Do you see people still trying to live out a life of 20 something, 30 something, 40 something as they go into their 50s and realizing that it doesn't quite fit anymore? I don't have as much energy, or I don't have as much time, or that I'm not still 23 years old.
Yeah. When I think about my own personal life, that's a big shift for sure. Like I used to love burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go out to a nightclub in Hong Kong and go and almost leave the nightclub and get ready and go and teach tennis. It's like in my 20s. And like if I tried that now, it would be over quite quickly. So yeah, um, you got to like the pace, the energy shifts, right? It's just when you think about being smart with energy, I still know people that would, you know, burn the candle at both ends consistently, but it doesn't work. And that also leads to burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah. A big one, and I haven't mentioned yet, is slowing down. So obviously meditation is part of that, but literally learning to slow down, which can be super uncomfortable for a lot of people, because learning to slow down is what, you know, we get present, we think clearer, we do make better decisions, but also we can then speed back up if we want to.
Yeah.
That's a big part of burnout, learning to slow down.
Yeah. And what happens when we slow down, Jason?
Well, it's, you know, compounds over a period of time. By the way, I don't mean slowing down as you're just not doing anything. You're laying on the couch eating popcorn. That could be part of it, but like, you know, learning to be more present. Um,
Yeah.
Literally just be more present. See the simple stuff in life. See the, you know, it could be that you're walking through a park, or you see it, someone smiles to you, but if you're just on the go all the time, you're rushing and rushing, you're kind of not going to see it. You're not going to connect to it. Uh, yeah, more patience, right? So more patience. Surely that's better for our health and well-being. But like I say, if you're used to that fast pace, and I think coming back to your question, Chris, is, you know, we're talking about midlife murmurings and starting to hit a different phase of life. Is that slowing down? I've got clients that love to go and play golf. I love golf. I feel like I slow down when I play golf. I do get frustrated at times, but
Yeah.
I've got clients that love fishing. They'll go fishing to slow down as a stress mechanism. Yeah, I think that's a super powerful approach.
It certainly is for me. I've got an old boat and I take it out into Poole Harbour and sit there bobbing around, looking at
I
the
love it.
birds and the sun on the water, and occasionally we catch a fish. But that's always a bonus. And I think just that thing of being fully absorbed by the
In the
beauty of
moment,
nature
it's
and
amazing.
having a chance just to notice what's around, it shifts the perspective completely.
I love that. I love what you just said about noticing. Notice what you notice, right? Become more present. I mean, you're super lucky. You know, we just spent a week in your part of the country, and it's definitely, oh, talking about ambition, that's definitely an ambition, is to spend more time around there, maybe even live there one day.
Yeah.
Um,
You'd be very welcome, Jason.
by the water, right?
Yeah.
I've got this big ambition, vision, is to be by the water more, for sure. Because I
Yeah.
definitely, something happens to my nervous system when I spend more time in those places. Uh, Absolutely super important.
It's funny, I spent 7 years working for a firm who had their office near Tower Bridge, just next to the river.
Okay.
And it was an incredible balance just to be able to look out the window at the flow of the water and the boats coming and going. And just every time it got a bit
But
much, to have a physical reminder of the flow of life coming and going as the tides came, and just the movement and the light. And I think it probably goes back to the wider point about it's just shifting our gaze and allowing
definitely.
ourselves to look beyond the here and the now to get some balance and just perspective. Um,
That
so
perspective, a time where it's a different phase of life, and just, yeah, like you say, a different shift in perspective. And sometimes that's just, I have something I want to share actually is, we feel like we're like a Formula One racing car, right? And we're going around the track, I used to love and watch a lot of Formula One, but I haven't done for a few years. But I know kind of what the intention is. They're trying to get around the track to win. Well, not all of them. They can't, depending on the engine. But what do they have to do once or twice during the race? The driver.
That's a pit stop.
They do. They have to pit stop, right? And the reason why they pit stop is, as we all know, that kind of so the tires don't blow out or the engine doesn't
Yeah.
blow, right? And so we have to also pit stop regularly, not just once a year or twice a year on a holiday. We have to do it consciously, daily, weekly. And so pit stops is a big part of the work I do. And what I've seen really help people is consciously create space for pit stops so
I
that
guess,
they can go faster and win.
and one thing about the pit stop analogy, they change tires, don't they, based on the shift of the conditions on the track? Because you might start on one set of tires and change to another. And I guess
That's
in the
it.
pit stop, you can see actually the course has changed from where I was previously,
Great.
and I need to make some
Very good.
adjustment.
Love it.
So
Adapt.
adapt. Great. Thank you, Jason. And listen, in closing, if there's one bit of advice or wisdom you'd pass to someone who has listened to this and said, maybe I am starting to show some of the signs of burnout, what would that be?
Don't do it alone. Like, get some support, whatever that is. Tap into, you know, uh, sometimes we do want to just try and do it all alone or not speak to it. So I'd say honor the struggle. So it's super important that honor, literally talk to it, speak to it, honor it, whether that's usually with someone else, right? It could be a mentor, it could be a coach, could be a friend, could be a family member, and kind of surround yourself and start really thinking about certain practices that would shift the gears, shift the trajectory. So you're not moving, you're moving further away from burnout, right? And yeah, I think coming back to that slowing down bit, get out, do the basics, get out in nature, create some space, get the phone away from you at times. Spend some time in the morning before you get into your day just for yourself, if that's reading or getting in the garden or just doing some really basic stuff that will compound for you and support your well-being.
I love your point about don't try and do it on your own. And that's the whole sort of essence of the midlife murmuration. Yeah, as the individual starlings fly together into this mass with countless others, there's safety and there's joy and there's beauty in that coming together. And I hope that this has encouraged people to join a murmuration around them as well, of others who are flying through that at the same time. So thank you, Jason. Listen, tell me, how can people find you if they'd like to hear some more thoughts and reflections and advice from Jason Pooley?
Yeah, so I'm sharing quite a bit of content every day, really, on LinkedIn. You'll see, just search Jason Pooley, at Jason Pooley on Instagram, and then I have a website, www.jasonpooley.com, and yeah, that's kind of where you can find me. And happy to to chat, and also super happy to be connected with you, Chris, and looking at the vision you have of midlife murmurings. It's so important right now, especially now, is building that support ecosystem and networking community, specifically for I kind of this phase of life.
Yeah.
Second half.
Here we go. Excellent. Thank you, Jason. All the best, my friend.
You're very welcome. Thank you.